Na sio tiles peke yake, ni kutengeneza shule inakuwa shule mzuri. Over and above buildings. We have currently done cabro to 75 schools across Kiharu. In fact, many times people do weddings in Kiharu wanaendaga kupigiwa picha, photo session in our public primary schools. Jambo la pili ningetaka nitaje, tuko na shule 65, shule za secondary, day secondary schools. And we have around 12,000 learners in those schools. We have a program we run called Kiharu Masomo Bora. And I want to confirm to Kenyans that fees across Kiharu in all our public day schools, fees is only 500 shillings per term. And learners eat in school, and they actually eat chapati every last Friday of the month. Na sio ile ya machini, hii ni chapati kabisa. And that is my entry point. Because allow me, my friends and Kenyans, because later I'll be giving crystal clear where I'll start politically and my participation. The few points I want to give is about what is the foundation of me doing what I'll be doing. What are my expectations insofar as the people of Kenya are concerned? And that is why that issue of education is my entry point. I believe as I stand here today, as we will hold hands with all Kenyans to deliver Kenya next year in August, we have done it in Kiharu to show that education can actually be reformed without necessarily adding taxes to Kenyans. By just reconfiguring the resources that we have. And in the education sector, these are my expectations, together with the people on the opposition side, whom will be seeking an opportunity to deliver Kenya next year. On the education sector, and I'll be giving just a summary. We start from ECD. I know it's a devolved function. The points I'll be giving, some may require changes in law. Others may require just an executive direction. Others just funding. So I'll give them knowing that some may actually require changes in our laws. ECD, as it is in Kenya, we have to change it from next year. We have to change it and have our ECD trainers and teachers either at a TSC or a TSC equivalent. I believe this is possible so that we have a body that is looking at the welfare of all ECD teachers, from hiring to transfers to remuneration, so that even as they seek their welfare, they can canvass that in the national arena. The second thing is on secondary schools. We have demonstrated it is doable. I want to confirm to Kenyans, the team I'll belong in, I will belong into, and the people we are going to hold hands with, we must, from January of 2028, deliver free basic education and that which is free. And we'll start that with our senior secondary schools. Of the 3.5 million Kenyans and learners in our senior secondary schools, we only require an additional 35 billion Kenya shillings. My proposal is as follows: that NGCDF will contribute 10 billion shillings into that kitty. The equitable share of our counties, because they also give bursaries, they also contribute 10 billion Kenya shillings. And that issue is that the national government to give in 15 billion Kenya shillings. 35 billion Kenya shillings is enough to give all school-going learners in our senior secondary schools free education, including meals. The other thing as we look into that is that we also must diversify the menus in our schools so that our schools become also centers of markets of our produce in our villages. Kama unatoka pahali Muthokoi iko, kama unatoka pahali kwa Githeri, pahali kwa Matoke, it is important that we incorporate even those kind of menus into our schools so that even farmers in our villages can find that as a local marketplace to sell their produce. Na wale wanatutazama wazazi wetu, mimi nasema ya kwamba nimeangazia na nimechukua Kenya mzima na nikaangalia fedha tuko nazo, na zile binu napeana leo ni vitu tunaweza fanya bila kuongeza kodi kwa Wakenya. Na ndio nimesema next year lazima tukikoboa Kenya, in the January of 2028 lazima Kenya ipee watoto wa Kenya masomo bila malipo, tukianza na senior secondary schools, wasome bila malipo yoyote na wakuwe wanakula shule. Na nimefanya hiyo mahesabu na najua kwenye pesa itatoka. In our universities we have a challenge. Mimi nimepata fursa, nimeitwa na university students, na nimeweza kuona ya kwamba the demographics are changing. Wale wanasoma kama sisi kutoka familia hazijiwezi, nimeona ni gumu sana, kwa sababu nimeitwa na university students engineering, nimeenda kwa madaktari, na nikaona iko shida kubwa sana ya watu kutoka day schools, wanafunzi kutoka familia zile ziko chini sana kupata nafasi ya kufanya kozi kama hizo. Pia hapo kuna jambo tumefanya, ni vile tunapeana summary. The second thing, and I want to finish first with social response, because there are two things that are important which are social investments. One is education, the other one is health. Education adds value to a human being, and health services labor, and the provider of labor is a human being. On the side of health, mambo ni mawili nimeona yale changamoto kubwa. Changamoto ya kwanza ni sisi viongozi tumeigiria mfumo ya healthcare. Unapata kama system ambayo ina manage healthcare ya Wakenya, wenyewe ni wenye tu wanaongoza nchi. Jambo ya kwanza, system kama hiyo ya IT, it must be owned by the government of Kenya. Jambo la pili, na hiyo ni changamoto kubwa, and I said I'll be mixing language, is the issue of funding. I have looked at the amount of money we collect in our healthcare system, in whatever name you call it, the previous one of NHIF and the current one. And whatever we say, whatever we promise, the point of the matter is that there is a funding gap. And my proposal is as follows, that starting the year 2028, the amount of money Kenyans are contributing into NSSF, ile pensions, ya retirement, we have that percentage, we reduce it by 50%. That extra 50% reduction goes into healthcare, and that will add into our healthcare system an extra 40 billion shillings, ambayo itapea wa Kenya afya mwafaka na yenye hawatakuwa wanarudi kwa mfuko kulipa. Many families have been ravaged by bills. As much as we are talking as leaders, we must provide practical solutions, and that is my practical solution. Within the same kitty of around 40 billion additional, it is enough money to take care adequately of all emergencies that meet Kenyan families, and also the chronic illnesses that are reducing many families into beggars. Hiyo pesa inaweza kufanya hiyo kazi. Na jambo lingine katika healthcare, the same money is enough to upgrade enough institutions here in Kenya, healthcare institutions, so that we can bring India here into Kenya instead of Kenyans going to India. And we'll be transforming these institutions so that they serve Kenyans in the region also. The last thing I want to give in terms of healthcare have interacted with many doctors, and I have interacted with many healthcare professionals. Dear Kenyans, we must bite the bullet. It is clear that Kenya is ripe. Again, I give an example for an equivalent of TSC. Even in healthcare, Kenya must have the Kenya Doctors and Healthcare Workers Commission that will be managing the affairs of our doctors and healthcare workers. And I am saying this knowing that it is a devolved function, but laws are made for the man, not man for the law. You can imagine now that a doctor in Nyamira, if they get married in Kwale, they have to quit their job in Nyamira and seek a fresh job at the other place. If we have a national platform to manage our healthcare workers, this will be a good opportunity, first of all, to harmonize. Number two, also, to ease also their welfare in terms of transfers. And so that also, we have a united front when it comes to staffing of our healthcare facilities. The other issue I want to give, which have really troubled my mind, is the issue of jobs. The other day, I got a committee from one of the churches in my office. And they were coming to invite me for a function, a church function. There were two ladies in that committee. And just during the introduction, one lady even cried, even before they told me what the agenda of the meeting, why they had come to my office. Because the lady has a son who is a doctor, who is doing vibarua. The other lady in the same meeting has a pharmacist, also unemployed. Every Kenyan watching us tonight, all families, most of them are having a challenge of people who have gone to school. They are willing and able, but our country cannot provide an opportunity for them to work. Dear leaders and Kenyans, this has to change. And I'll give a few areas. I'll just give a few. One is that all the economies of the world that we study, from Singapore that we all hear about, I know you are almost laughing, to South Korea, to China, and all these countries, the basis of growth which creates a synergetic movement in the economy is manufacturing. We have to deliberately grow our manufacturing sector to secure jobs for the young people of Kenya. And in this respect, you cannot talk about manufacturing without talking about the cost of power. And that is why, in terms of manufacturing, the proposals I have come with are domiciled, number one, around getting power adequate in Kenya, but also cheap. One is that we have to totally liberalize power sector. And the kind of lip service you are hearing from government is not enough. Liberalization has to happen. If an industry can produce their power to use and they have access to sell, they must be at liberty to sell it to the next factory, so that we have as many producers of energy as possible, because abundance brings forth lower prices. The second thing, in terms of bringing the cost of power down in Kenya, we have an institution called KenGen, majority owned by the people of Kenya through the government. The current valuation of KenGen is around 75 billion Kenya shillings. Yet it is a company that produces roughly 2,000 megawatts of power. An equivalent of KenGen in other economies is valued more than 450 billion Kenya shillings. Just to cite like two, Transco Power in Nigeria, currently there is a transaction ongoing in Philippines, a country called EDC, producing less than KenGen, yet the valuation is $5 billion US. What am I proposing? That immediately, and I'm talking about early 2028, we must leverage the $500 billion assets of KenGen. The government must...
Iyi Noyo Minto TV, egetacho kiamangana manuke.
Wairire buya omoncho murigeri wegetasene ke Minto TV iri tukoria lero lia Jumatatu ni gongo kwaligania semesa yama ya chinsa ibere elionkomanye ayagendrete ime ya chingongo chonsi chense nchengoro kumatha kwambuka kabamo na inchego chakera bono iga wekomwelio ni gotogo chaka amaya kuraso moche o Nairobi ase umabagani o Safari Park ekarabon umobunge bo chinsemo cha Kiharu umosken Ndindi Nyoro agendete Gokwanera Abakenya chinsemo chirie karabono akuru eganga yae gochia bosio gosengai agochigoterena asensemo ya siasa boigo nigo anyara ko bakago tebo gosega kuru emerobero ibono aroche era chigokonya Abakenya asa matuko ari bosio tigango turamotegerera
at a much faster pace than we are doing now. The other issue, you allow me just to go top line and summary. Around jobs. All these points now I am giving are all about jobs. The other second point around jobs is hospitality and tourism. Currently, Kenya last year had maybe around 2.7 million international visitors. A country of 58 million Kenyans, abundantly blessed, well-positioned. I have looked at cases, for example, Morocco, a much smaller country than Kenya in terms of population. Even in terms of endowments, Kenya is much better. Morocco had 19 million visitors last year. Albania, a country with maybe a tenth of our population, they had 12 million visitors last year. Clearly there is something we can do so that we grow our tourism sector, diversifying what we offer, marketing Kenya better, and my target is that as a country we should be able to attract 10 million international visitors. What does that do? For every 3 million visitors, we create 1 million jobs. If we have 10 million visitors, we are talking about 3 million direct jobs. And every one direct job in hospitality and tourism creates 3 more jobs indirectly through agriculture, through transport, and the rest. It is clear that we can do more, attract more visitors into Kenya, and clearly create more than 3 million direct jobs for the great youth of Kenya who are watching us tonight. The other issue I want to highlight in terms of jobs again. All this I'm giving is about jobs because I've realized there is no way you can say you are growing an economy when many Kenyans qualified are idle. So allow me to highlight the issue of finance industry. Kenya has many banks, over 40. Whether big or small, they all make money. How then do we give an advantage to others that is in our country? My proposal...
Togo tigana nayo nigo toko genda imeye county ya Nyamira karabono abarai ao nigo baisokie na kuburia serikali boigo na babwatani boborendi kwene kyanga ngotinya bare oborendi imeye county ya Nyamira bakoragwa no barai bo basibati imeye county ya Nyamira musibati Jerusha Mumanyi no mujumbe bo chinsemo cha West Mogirango Muske Stephen Mugaka nigo bono bagotebanga amatukwa aitire amake nigo bona chibura buru chabere chikorekana asemisangekano ao egonto bona bagotebanga nigo bakoburia serikali kweneke nga obure nimboro chinsemo chenyamira mono karabona abakenya bagendete kuyarigania asobochori buri bosio
wanafanya rape kwa watoto wachanga, kwa wasichana wachanga, wasee wa nyumba 10 na pia clan elders. Tunawaomba mtusaidie kupata wale watu ambao wako wabaya kwa vijiji yetu, kwa sababu tunataka kuangamisha kabisa, tuangamize wale watu ambao wanaangaisa watu wetu katika vijiji.
Wale ambao wamefanya mzaha ati wanaenda kwa matanga na sarakasi zao kwenda kuharibu matanga, mimi nataka kuambia wazazi wa pembe hii, tafadhali, na Wakristo, restrain our children, wasitumike vibaya kwenda kufanya uhalifu, kwa sababu interrupting a lawful assembly is a breach of the laws of the Republic of Kenya.
Nomoske Fred Matiangi oiboigo okochi koriya ekerogo kyobora ibwense kuru ase ekiama kiria kya Jubilee ritukolero nigo anyarko bakago kwana nense boigo gosego kwana bali kibamangana asama gacho amanene a Jubilee kerebono agendete koraga ebyara gochi ase umara ibwense tomoske William Ruto igore chibura buru chiribono chabeta chikorere kanali ritukolero igoro ime ye county ya Homa Bay nigo bono umoske Matiangi tabanga nchirateyo chibura buru chirakorekana chinsemo chiria abare ombaro boyigo babere bagukwanwa nga nabo barenge kora chibura buru korende umora bwense tama etemanga nayo.
There is that time in the life of a nation such as we are now when I think we need to speak to each other candidly and very sincerely about how we see the affairs of our country going. It's now abundantly clear that the president and his government have chosen violence as a weapon for political survival and as a weapon for political engagement. And I'm not going to start where usually people start with these tired cliches about we condemn in the strongest terms possible, we ask for action. I'm not going to go that direction. Because what we are dealing with is abundantly clear to all of us that we have come to a point where certain serious conversations must happen in this country and choices must be made. This is not rocket science. You don't need a degree in geophysics to see what is going on in the country. When you look at the scale of the structures, the pain and the losses in Homa Bay, we have begun our descension into chaos. And clearly, the president and his government have chosen that path.
By experience, I want to tell Kenyans very sincerely, I do not think and I cannot see how the scale of violence in Homa Bay and the activity that happened there could have happened without the knowledge of the National Security Council and without the knowledge especially of the president, because I have been in that environment before. The president receives executive intelligence briefings wherever he is, even if he is in Greenland or attending the UN General Assembly. Such intelligence information is gathered and the president is briefed very regularly. So when you look at what happened in Homa Bay, it's crime at industrial scale. The planning, you can see clearly the choreography, the management of that, and the resources that could have been spent in that. The greatest question to Kenyans today and always is, which way Kenya? Are we going to allow our country to burn? Because it's clear, we have begun that path. Or are we going to allow our country to be destroyed? We must answer that question with a resounding no and follow it up with action. The action is we will sit together and figure out what legal way do we go forward, what do we do. All of us who are interested in the stability of the country, political power and all these things are secondary to the lives of our people, to the stability of our nation. Kenya is much more important than any one of us. The government has decided to now begin, in addition to terrorizing.
Nabarai abono baresi nsemo ya Linda Mwananchi bakoragwa n'umugavana we county ya Siaya Musike James Orengo umubunge bucinsemo cha Imbakasi umusike Babu Ino nabarai bande litukolya rero nigo banyara ko bagukwana nabariki aseboye go baorokyo ko bachiwa kwabo nechisegi ikibono cyabete chikorekana imeye county ya Homa Bay nigo bono bakubolya ebyombe birya byo gukora obotuki bisoye asamangana igabirigereri chinkwana echi boyigo ko bakubeka byara onde bonsi uratoke neri mocho byokoreza kibura buru chinsemo echo nigo bono bagoteba abasaye abange bari bono barenge gosalia umusange kano chinsemo echo cha Homa Bay nigo bagoteba nga abange baru tekisi amigori boyigo ne county ya Siaya na Kisumu.
To Kenyans, we want to inform you that yesterday, as you are aware, we encountered some occupational hazards as we were going to Homa Bay. But what is so surprising is the manner in which the attacks from goons were organized by elected leaders in this country. I want to tell this nation and assure Kenyans and the great people of Homa Bay County that come 2027, one Peter Kaluma, will not see the doors of Parliament again. Comrade here and myself will ensure that Peter Kaluma goes home, and we are going to support one Isaiah Ogwe, who will be the next Member of Parliament for Homa Bay.
The government is trying desperately to change the conversation in relation to what is happening in the country, particularly to the question of who are sponsoring goons. I think it is a record everywhere we have gone as Linda Mwananchi, across the country. There has been peace, except when there's interference by the Kenya Kwanza government. I think that record is clear, and we are happy about the people of Kenya in showing faith and confidence on Linda Mwananchi because we are accepted across the nation. In order to advance this narrative, I am told and I'm aware there's a team of police officers who have been sent to arrest in the manner they arrested some of our young people when Edwin Sifuna and I attended a church in Kisumu. They want to arrest some of our cadres, some of our supporters, particularly one gentleman by the name Oliver, better known as Oliveti. And they are carrying with them an A47 gun to try and plant on him, which is not the first time they have tried to do so. So we are warning those in authority who are trying to abuse the law in such a manner that will expose you, and we shall not allow you to abuse the law.
Togo tigara ase omusangirikano wa Linda Mwananchi ritukuregoro imenye kaunti ya Homa Bay uyo kabere omurai bwaba wakili omusabati Faith Odhiambo uyogonere nigo aru oroboti igoro yebintu gosechiburaburu ekyo kyakorekanete rituko uri igoro nigo bona gotabogera bonega oroboti nigo rogotebanga omo osigari gosomunya nyimbo yomo nigo asirete obugima bwaye na bande abange konyora chingoma abono bare asitinya gitari au chigari chinyinge ejobono charenge ase omusafara oyu Olinda Mwananchi chinyinge cyabo nigo cyabete chigosaliwa boigo ne chigari chinde imenye county ya Homa Bay nigo cyabete chigosambo.
And finally into Homa Bay town, our efforts to meet and engage with the people of Homa Bay were frustrated by barricaded roads, attacked from armed terrorists in the full glare of the public, media and police officers. The first incidences were reported in the night of 15th August 2026, where several of our teams raised alarm over roadblocks by goons at various points on all major roads leading to Homa Bay town. The state-sponsored militia actively and openly took over major highways and attacked motorists at several points including Nyangweso, Olare, Rangwe, Oyugis, Rodi, Mbita, and Sindo, amongst others. For the avoidance of doubt that the state was fully complicit on this wave of terror, several of our vehicles were hauled with stones and other projectiles by terrorists standing just 200 meters away from a police block at Rangwe. Evidently, the police were not interested in stopping the real criminals. They only wanted to make sure that we were able to defend ourselves when attacked. In the full element of economic paralysis, that is an automatic outcome of state terrorism, the inaccessibility of Homa Bay was not the only thing stopping free progress of business. The situation was worse within Homa Bay town, where the state terrorists freely moved around hotels in search of guests believed to be Linda Mwananchi members. At the tourist hotel, these state terrorists even forcibly broke into rooms in the hope that they would find and execute our members. The attacks multiplied both in occurrence and severity in the morning of 16th August 2026, with several motorcades carrying our members and leaders were blocked and stoned as they made their way into Homa Bay town. Long before the meetings began, our teams endured immense struggle to use public roads, almost as though entitlement to national resources and facilities is limited to those who pay homage to this regime. To subdue the freedom of media, who are bravely making efforts to highlight the state's warfare against its people, the terrorists also targeted members of the press, with Frederick Hooko and Brian Ongoro from AFP, and journalists of K24 and Citizen being accosted while covering the dire state of affairs in Homa Bay ahead of their meetings, and their vehicles and properties of the journalists were also damaged and equipment stolen. We estimate the economic value loss as Homa Bay County.
Nomorai babasabati imeye county ya Kisii uyiboigo okubore kirego kyobo bunge imeye bunge ya Bonchari umusabati umuske Doris Donya nigo litukolya rero asanga n'abananchi ko chinsemo cyo cha Bonchari ase anyara kubaga kubasira n'iki machine ekibono ebyombi au chinsemo cyo cha Bonchari bigo chigotumya gwekinya ase abintu byabo biribono bagokora kwenyorera kibesa nigo omo roberio yiga uikiranigwa n'abarayi babasabati goro ase county au aiga sense ase yaito karabona banyara kwa bakumubori umurai umusike Fred Matiang'i gosoa ase serikali elio bakore egasiamo musakeito Brian Bichanga no roboti
Women Republic County ya Kisii Moskedo Nyadori Saburi ritkulia lero niganyala kwa baka kusangirekania bamenyibe bunge ya Bonchari ase eganga yogosira ebiombe byabangina nabasae asoko bachi machine kibaranyala kwa bagutumika asoko eligelia kwetigasi kya botambe
mimi leo niseme kama umeenda Nakuru kama umeenda Naivasha ile barabara ya Nairobi ni William Samoei Ruto amefanya nini
asomo yegoyo igabarai ao nigo banyako bahwikira nensemeyo asabanyala ko bakumwakireko ko murai wenso Muski William Samoei Ruto naboigo banyala ko bakuvoli oyo kulikiro kyo urai wense korwase kyamagia Jubilee Muski Fred Matiang'i wasase serikali elibanyala ko bakumwako boko omwaka bwechiri bubere na 32
katika ile pesa kidogo tunapata ya ngafu mimi huwa nafuata pesa ya Donya na nimeweza kuona maendeleo yamefanya amesaidia kina mama kwa vikundi amesaidia vijana hata nimeona akiendelea kujenga boreholes na kuambia Donya pongezi taka Dr. Matiang'i ashike hii kitu lazima tumchukue mtoto wetu tumtoe katikati ya maadui tumfunike na damu ya Yesu na tumfunike kama Wakenya kwa hivyo sisi hatuna ukabila hata siku moja hata kabila mengi wanaishi hapa Kisii wakifanya biashara na tumewahi kupigana na mtu wowote lakini kile tumekataa kama vijana wa Kenya ni kutenganishwa kwa misingi ya ukabila vijana mnanisikia
umugacho munene bw'ikiama kya UDA Muski Chafeti Nyakundi niganyara ko bakagosaba abagusigo tigara ko bamo naboigo kubwatesi omurai bwenze heliko yenekya ngamagendero nganyara ko ba gako okorwa asorogongorwa gusi
vijana na wazee kwa sababu kutoa ni kwa moyo. Sisi kama viongozi wa Kenya Kwanza tukiongozwa na Faruk na akina mama zetu kutoka kaunti tofauti tumekuja hapa kuchangia akina mama kwa sababu tunajua ukimsaidia mama umesaidia jamii.
Nyamira ninawaeleza ya kwamba hao watu ambao wanawadanganya ati sisi kama jamii ya Gusii tutoke kwa serikali lakini waambii watu wao watoke kwa serikali wafanye nini? Washinde wasishindwe. Pale Central bado wako na ministers 8 katika serikali ya Ruto. Bado wako na ma-PS. Ushaiwasikia Rigathi akiambia ministers wao watoke serikali? Kwa hivyo sisi kama hawa jamii ya Gusii, mbona tukuje kudanganya kwamba tutoke kwa serikali?
abarai aho banyako bawikira nensemeyo nigo basaba abantu go register gusekwebeka somurobirio sha asebuna no nyara ko ba kogokonya amange
na pia akatuletea bima ya afya. Niliona Nyakundi akiongea sitaiongelea, lakini SHA ilikuja ili iweze kuokoa watu wetu. Kwa hivyo nawaomba watu wa Bonchari muweze pia kurejista kwa SHA kwa sababu rais ameweka policy ambayo inatukata sisi pesa mingi ndio iweze kuwasaidia wale watu wa chini pia waweze kupata bima ya afya.
Ripoti ya Senikio Mto TV Brian Bichanga.
Kora chinsa mwecho cha Bonchari omoncho murigeri nongo korera amoya chinsa ibere ritukorerero lia Ominto chinsa mochiria cha YouTube Oyominto TV Kenya boigona se website ya www.oyomintonews.com ni gongendete kunyure ngana bogotara samaga cha JM Towers imyomochi ubosongo asaduka ya Uhuru Superstores bonyorere ebinto au gati abo biri byechi hardware boigo nechiduka nonya tubwate besa isaine na bogotara chinsa mochi oyugore account yao yalipa mdogo mdogo wakanire ebinto byo ngora kugokora na bao koretera weka asoro utarigwakanira kende gionsi nchengoro kumata kwambuka nigongo kuirania ase umubagani olio Safari Park ase Muski Ndindi Nyoro agendete Gokwanera Abakenya.
TV egetacho kiamangana amanuke.
Iduka ya Uhuru Superstores ni goba ukoligania asi obukolere bwa butambe. Onye kuromuga cy'ubutambe gusegutagete gukinie byasara byao nigo Uhuru Superstores abakolere ubugati amono obukolere bwabo koba ubwororo kima asibono ba ukorenteria umuroberio olipa mdogo egento gyoko gukora no kwigora account.
We have been working together. We have been working together in Linda Mwananchi. I must say, if I had a choice, I'd have asked Mheshimiwa Ndindi Nyoro to keep on talking. Keep on talking. Keep on talking, because of many politicians that I've known in this country, and I know pretty many politicians in this country who are living and those who have passed on, because I've had the privilege of being in most of the parliaments and served with great Kenyan statesmen. And I consider my brother and my younger brother or son, Ndindi Nyoro, to be one of the greatest political minds we have in the country together. Why am I saying this? Sometimes it's easier to talk about what is wrong, but it is more difficult to talk about how to fix it. And I have followed Mheshimiwa Ndindi Nyoro in his political life, because most of the time when I listen to his story and what he has to say is about fixing Kenya, unlike many other politicians. And most of his speeches are not made for funerals, speeches who are made for great events like today. I want to remind you that when ideas are right, then it doesn't matter where the idea is coming from or the age of that person who is bringing those big ideas. In late 19th, I think 18th century, there was a young man called Pitt the Younger. He became a British Prime Minister when he was 23 years old. And most that you see how the British government is run began in the years of Pitt the Younger. And I believe that Honorable Ndindi Nyoro, if he is in the right position, right at the center of this nation's governance, will get a lot of things right. We'll get a lot of things right. And I look forward working with you as Linda Mwananchi. We have been working before, but now as leader of a political party and me as a party leader of Linda Mwananchi, our work begins now, and I think we are going to sit together to work together.